Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Hope you're doing well out there. On today's episode, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, Eleanor Goldfield is not here today, but she hopes to be back soon. She'll be back next week or the week after or something. Apologize for her absence, but schedules get in the way sometimes. Anyway, on today's show, we will be getting into how there is a possibility that Iran has been killing CIA officers. Also, the U.S. economy is far worse than we've been told. There's a massive cover up going on to continue to cover up. I'm doing great so far. A massive cover up to cover up things. These are some solid sentence structures so far. Massive cover up to cover up the ongoing Iranian strikes and where they're hitting, not just in Israel, but in other areas, hitting U.S. bases, etc. We're going to be getting into that. And like I said, the economy and so much more all coming up right now. We're going to play some more amazing Lindsey Graham clips because that guy's just knocking it out of the park. He really is. You know what's great is to have a psychopath who's also kind of half in the bag at all times. And on top of that, just loves killing some folks, loves killing children. You know, that's really what we do here with the U.S. empire. But anyway, let's start out. Please click thumbs up, click share, all those good things. Let's start out with the fact that 6 more U.S. military members. Remember, they are not service members unless they're serving you ice cream, all right? If a U.S. military troop gives you an ice cream, then it's a service member. U.S. military members have been killed in this ongoing war of choice by the United States and Israel. And yeah, they're reporting that they died in a plane crash while refueling. Now, I don't know how true that is. I don't know whether they've presented evidence proving that or whether this is just the U.S. being like, oh, yeah, every U.S. troop that's killed, it was an accident. There wasn't Iranian bombs hitting anything. No, they just tripped and fell over lots of things. I don't know, but they say either way, they were killed, obviously, in this Operation Epic Mistake, and 6 more have died. So I think the total is 10 or 11, maybe, in Operation Epic Mistake so far. And yeah, people don't like to see that. They don't like to see our military members dying for our ethnic cleansing campaigns, our genocidal campaigns. It really, what we'd like to do is commit these genocides, the ethnic cleansing, the bombing, the trying to destroy ancient civilizations that have been there for thousands of years. We'd like to do that without getting hurt. I think you and I would all like to see that. So yeah, 6 more have died. And I'm going to talk in a bit, probably a while later, about the synagogue that was hit by an attack, but it was basically a car attack. People who can't get access to firearms sometimes will commit attacks with vehicles. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that in Michigan as well. But let's talk about the U.S. economy, which, like I just said, we'd like to be able to commit genocides, ethnic cleansing, wars of choice, where we can blow up schools and kill 165 children. We'd like to be able to do those things without harming our military members and without harming our economy. I am fine with bombing schools, blowing up as many children as needed, as long as the economy is doing well. And it turns out that even that's not fucking true. The Dow has collapsed. I mean, comparative to what it's been doing in the past many weeks, it's collapsed down 700 points. Oil has jumped up again, nearing $100. Last I checked, closing. The Dow closed the other day yesterday at the lowest level in 2026. But also, if you look at where the Dow is right now, rhyme intended. Okay, hold on. Let me find this goddamn page. If you look at where it's at right now, it is down to 46,700, which over a 6-month time span is about where you were back when Biden was in office, possibly even below certain areas when Biden was in office. So, and that means that Trump has, with this war on Iran, with this Operation Epic Mistake, Trump has erased all of the Wall Street gains that he had with his presidency. The let's see, that's year to date, 1 year. Or not, not all of it. It's not quite to where Biden was, but it's getting close. And why did the Dow and the stock exchange go up so much when Trump got elected? Well, Wall Street celebrates when the workers are most effectively oppressed, and when even the moderate little tiny bits of fetters we put on our capitalism, as those are taken off, Wall Street celebrates. Wall Street is very excited. Looking at how corporations are doing to judge the health of a society is like looking how the leeches are doing on a dying man. And you just look at the leeches and you go, those leeches look really happy. I think this guy's fine. The parasites are celebrating. I think this guy's fine. And that's what looking at these corporations is. So these corporations they're sad. We could call these sad Dow numbers. These Dow numbers are sad right now because they understand that Iran has the ability to impact the global economy, and they already have. And these Dow numbers are sad because the U.S. is not doing as well as it was just a few weeks ago. And even the totally subservient, bowing down and filleting Donald Trump outlets are also saying this. Here is from the Financial Times. They say soaring fuel prices to cast a long shadow on the U.S. economy. The U.S. Energy Department has warned petrol and diesel prices are unlikely to recede to pre-war levels until mid-2027 at the earliest. Official figures released on Tuesday show U.S. petrol prices rose 19% over the past 2 weeks to $3.50 a gallon. Petrol is not forecast to drop back below $2.94 per gallon pre-conflict level before the end of 2027. So even if Trump were to, I was going to say admit this was a mistake. He won't admit it was a mistake. Even if Trump were to say, yeah, we won, we're done, we're leaving because we won, because we're so awesome and we won. Even if he were to do that right now, you would still see the ripple effects of this in the global economy in many ways for months and months, possibly a year and a half. And on top of these horrible numbers for the U.S. economy, you also have the fact that just out today from another servile news source, Washington Post, even they have to admit things sometimes as well. They're admitting today that the economy was shakier than it appeared even before heading into the Iran conflict. These are revised numbers as to how the U.S. economy was doing even prior to going into Iran, prior to setting the world's oil markets on fire. The U.S. economy was in worse shape in the weeks before the United States and Israel launched strikes against Iran than earlier government estimates had suggested, according to two closely watched economic benchmarks released Friday, painting a picture of slowing growth and stubborn inflation. The Commerce Department downwardly revised its estimate of economic growth in the fourth quarter of last year, saying that gross domestic product expanded at just 0.7% annual rate in the final 2 months of 2025, much smaller than the 1.4% pace the department had reported in advance, in their advance estimate last month. And if you look at this is just 2024 and 2025. And this is gross domestic product. You can see that we're down in the fourth quarter of 2025. just a tiny little growth in gross domestic product. Now, if you want to dig down to deeper reality, I like to get a little more towards core reality, a little more deeper understanding of these issues. The truth is, if we keep growing, if gross domestic product keeps growing forever, we all die because it's a planet of finite resources. So the idea that you can grow forever it's what cancer thinks until cancer kills the host, and then cancer goes, shit. Well, that we are behaving like cancer. And so gross domestic product going up forever is a bad thing for humanity. But my point in showing you this is that the Trump economy is not what he portrays it to be. It is the United States is a house of cards. We are in a AI bubble, but I always try and clarify because I think a lot of people think the AI bubble means that when the bubble bursts, AI will no longer have any effect on our society. No, there's two. When people say AI bubble, they're talking about the AI economic bubble, not whether AI can do anything. AI will drastically change all of our societies around the world over the next 5 years. I regret to inform you. But the AI economic bubble in the United States is very real. And we are like, if you look at a chart, and I've shown it before on this live stream, it's basically 7 companies sending money back and forth to each other. Like NVIDIA is the only one making the shovels for the gold rush. Like NVIDIA makes the chips, so they actually make a thing for the gold rush. They're the ones making the overalls and the shovels for the gold rush. But most people went broke searching for gold. Very few people got rich in the gold rush. So in the AI gold rush, you have one person making shovels, and then you have the other companies all just hoping, the open AIs and Grok on X and all that shit, just hoping that it's going to pan out. And NVIDIA is literally helping invest in these companies so that they can buy their chips. So it's like it's a house of cards. It's a circle jerk. It's absolutely a bubble that will burst at some point. And now we're getting these reports that the economy was shakier than it was before invading Iran. And now I'll call it an invasion. Of course, it's just a unfettered bombing of Iran so far. But then on top of that, Iran, as I've been covering daily on this live stream, is far more powerful than Trump and his idiopaths gave them credit for. They seem to have their shit together. They seem to have a plan. They are harming the world economy. They're harming the Middle East economies of these countries, these monarchies that are allies with the United States. And they are in some regards winning. I don't want to overstate it. I don't want to run around and say, look how great Iran's doing. I think you should paint both sides. There are still people dying in Iran. The United States can keep carpet bombing them. The United States has, I believe, admitted to dropping or striking 15,000 sites across Iran. They are bombing more in Iran over these first 2 weeks than Israel bombed Gaza in the first 2 weeks. That's how horrific it is. And let's remember that in Gaza, they've dropped the equivalent of 6 or 7 Hiroshima atomic bombs. So unbelievable, unfucking believable bombing of Gaza. And now even worse, bombing of Iran. And many of them have been just civilian sites, schools, hospitals, the public areas. And, how the U.S., how the unfettered psychopath military, Pentagon, Hegseth, and his psychopaths have decided these targets. I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. But anyway, the U.S. economy is struggling and will continue to struggle. And keep in mind, and I cover this a lot in Unredacted tonight. I covered it on the last episode. We dump. Maybe I'll play at least part of that episode at the end of today's live stream. New episode came out last night, by the way, Unredacted tonight. But we dump an insane amount of money in our Pentagon. $1 trillion a year so far, but Trump wants to get that up to $1.5 trillion a year. At $1 trillion a year, we spend more on our Pentagon than 140 fucking countries combined. Okay. And if he gets that up to 1.5 trillion, which is his goal, that'll be more than all countries on earth combined, except China and Russia. You just take the little bit that's China and Russia out of it, and it's more than all countries on earth combined. That's what we spend on our military. All right, I'm going to move on from economics, but continue to talk about our catastrophic Operation Epic Mistake. Here is Trump admitting publicly, and I love the thing on the screen, the writing on the video says, caught admitting to war crimes. No, he wasn't caught. He publicly, like, caught sounds like there was a hidden camera involved. No, this is him giving a podium speech and admitting to war crimes. If I know anything about Instagram, this will not start at the beginning of the clip. Or not start at all. Maybe Instagram just doesn't give a shit.
And it's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. Top of the line. I said, why didn't we just capture the ship? We're going to use it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, they like sinking them.
He's admitting to war crimes. He's admitting to blowing up ships that were not attacking them, that were not part of the Iranian war effort. And he's admitting that these choices are made not out of any strategic reason, just it's more fun to kill people. You'll increasingly see, and I've played some of the clips on this show, I'll keep playing them, but you'll increasingly see that these psychopaths are admitting to fucking war crimes. They don't hide from it anymore. They admit to fucking war crimes. They admit like, by all international law, they should be in The Hague. They should be in the supermax prisons. And there's a lot of admission to it. And it shows how much they're operating with impunity. They feel they can just commit these war crimes and just murder civilians and it's all fine. Here now is a quick clip of Trump admitting that he started the war with Iran to stop war with Iran. What the fuck?
Questions, Peter?
Yes. You just said it is a little excursion, and you said it is a war. So which one is it?
Well, it's both. It's both. It's an excursion that will keep us out of a war, and the war is going to be. I mean, for them, it's a war. For us, it's turned out to be easier than we thought.
What the fuck are you talking about? Part of this has to do. There's multiple things going on here. One is that he doesn't really know the reasons that we're obliterating people in Iran right now. I think I honestly give him enough credit that deep down he knows it has to do with China and the petrodollar. They don't admit that part publicly, but they've given a myriad of reasons why they invaded. Oh, Iran was going to attack us. Iran was going to attack Israel. Iran tried to have me killed. Iran, they probably tried to manipulate our elections. Iran, they were treating their people poorly, so we're going to blow up their people to help them treat their people better. They've thrown out all these reasons, but because there is no real reason that they can give unless they're going to publicly admit that it's because it makes the U.S. more powerful to stop Iran from allying with China and providing oil to China, etc. Unless they're going to admit that, they just keep making shit up. So that's part of what's going on, why he can't give a straight answer. It's also that they've just a little bit decided they don't want to call this a war because they've realized that, well, if they call it a war and they're kind of losing, then that looks worse than if they say, oh, we just wanted to kill the Ayatollah and now we're done. Then, okay, well, we didn't call it a war. We were just there to kill the Ayatollah. That's all we wanted to do. And now we're cool. Now we're chill. So there's kind of this back and forth. I played the montage for you 2 days ago about where they admit it's a war over and over again, but then in other clips they say it's not a war. They say, oh, it's an incursion. It's the Persian incursion or whatever they're calling. I don't know what they're calling it, but it's a new name every day. Anyway, here is Lindsey Graham admitting he really pledges his loyalty to Israel. Lindsey Graham, of course, one of our biggest bloodthirsty war hawk, drunk as shit senators. But
Seminites, to all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus, plus, plus. All the
Right. So he says to all the anti-Semites, I'm not with you, I'm with Israel. But of course, what does he and Israel term anti-Semites? Anyone who stands up against genocide, even Jews who stand up against genocide, who are against ethno-states, who are against apartheid. You're an anti-Semite. It is absolute bullshit. And he's saying, oh, I'm not with all those Americans that are opposed to our war in Iran, that are opposed to our genocide in Gaza. I'm not with them. I'm with Israel. So this is Lindsey Graham admitting he's with Israel till his dying day. And here is Ted Cruz actually speaking to a room full of Christians. And Ted Cruz, one of the biggest My Loyalty Lies with Israel senators as well. Tucker Carlson famously made him look like absolute dog shit, where he basically, Ted Cruz admitted, it seemed like a slip up, admitted that he said, I got into the Senate to help. First priority was to help Israel. And you're like, really? That was your first priority, was to help Israel? Anyway, here he is speaking to a room full of Christians and trying to tell them to support Israel.
I will say this, I am saddened to see that some here, not everyone, but some here, are so consumed with hate that you cannot address your brother. I will say this.
You speak for yourself.
If you will not stand with Israel and the Jews,
No.
then I will not stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you.
He gets essentially booed off the stage at a Christian event. Like, these are his people. And he gets essentially booed off the stage because he's telling them all to stand with Israel in this horror show, in their genocides, in their massacres of children. And by the way, you notice a little rhetorical trick there. I'm trying to get everybody to understand these rhetorical tricks, so when you're in arguments with other people, you don't fall for them. He said, if you won't stand for Israel and the Jews, no, the Jews, such as myself, are not represented by Israel. There are millions of anti-Zionist Jews. There are more Zionist Christians across America than there are Jews in the world. So the idea that Israel speaks for the Jews is bullshit, and he wants you to conflate the two, as does Israel. Israel wants you to conflate the two so that any criticism of Israel is considered anti-Semitic, and that, again, is bullshit. And one more, just for good measure, here's Lindsey Graham again celebrating our massacres, celebrating our massacring of children and killing innocent people. He's really, really thrilled about it. He's been waiting years for this, by the way.
I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So
we're killing all the right people, and I feel good about it. Absolute psychopaths is what these people are. And, he says we are running out of certain kinds of bombs. Hilariously, though, one of the main types of bombs we're running out of is the interceptor missiles, because Iran is tactically getting us and Israel to use them all up so that they don't have any interceptor missiles left, which means Iran can, at that point, basically hit whatever they want. Now, I want to get into the more of the views on how much of a cover-up there is in just how well Iran is doing and what Iran is striking. It really is a massive, large-scale cover-up. By the way, everyone, throw in a comment. It always helps the algorithm. Get into angry fights in the comment section. That always helps. Just call each other names. No. Don't call each other names. Just get into angry debates and throw in a super chat. Why not? And I hope you'll join up at Lee Camp. realleecamp.substack.com or patreon.com/Lee Camp if you want to see my work continue. I'll talk a little more about that in a bit, but it's not easy when it was considering how many places, how many countries Iran is striking, how many U.S. bases they're hitting, how many they're hitting CIA bases, how much they're hitting Israel. Considering all of that, it is not easy to cover all of that up. And these countries are working their ass off. I mean, Israel first and foremost, to try to make sure you don't know that Iran is having success in these strikes. And here is from The Guardian, a British tourist in Dubai is among 20 charged that could face years in prison for releasing videos of the Iranian missile strikes. And chances are, considering this is a British tourist, chances are he didn't even know what he was doing, that he was doing something illegal by UAE cyber crime laws. There's an image right there showing that this strike has hit the side of a hotel. I'm going to talk a little more about that in a few minutes, but a British man is among 20 people who have been charged in the UAE under cybercrime laws in connection with filming and posting material related to the Iranian attacks. The 60-year-old man, understood to be a tourist, was visiting Dubai and was charged under a law that prohibits sharing material that could disturb public security. And this is that's in Dubai, but these laws are in extreme effect right now in Israel as well, where you are not allowed to see the missiles that are landing. However, those who have friends and family in Israel or in these countries, you're probably hearing a lot about it. This is not, as much as they may want to cover this up, it is not, they're not able to cover it all up. And it seems like Iran has hit many U.S. military bases. They killed 4 military personnel, 4 or 5, but then also 6 more died refueling, or maybe it was not refueling. Who knows? There's also a theory. Now, I don't know. I don't know how much evidence there is to it, but there's a lot of cover-up, so it's tough to find evidence of this stuff. But there's also a theory that why would Iran hit, because these drones are fairly precise. You can send them to a precise area. Why would they hit a hotel? And there are several videos and reports of hotels not getting hit repeatedly, but kind of getting hit at like a certain floor. And there's a theory, Richard Medhurst was talking about it, some others have been talking about it, that Iran's intel is far better than the U.S. has given it credit for, U.S. and Israel have given it credit for, and therefore Iran knows where CIA, to some extent, where CIA agents are, where they have hit one CIA base, at least one, because even Fox News was covering that a CIA base was hit. The Fox News claimed there was nobody yet at the base at the time. Now, I don't know why that would be. I mean, I know they're kind of hunkering down, but because they know they might get hit. But it seems kind of weird that there'd be a CIA base that's empty, even with the warnings. However, so where are most of these personnel going? Well, they're leaving the bases and they're going into hotels. And if Iran has good intel, they may know where these people are staying, and they may be hitting the hotels where CIA and U.S. military and Israeli military and Mossad are staying. And of course, that type of thing would never be admitted to us. We would never be told that there were CIA staying in that hotel. We would never be told that this number of CIA personnel or officers were killed in a strike. All of that would be hidden from us. And especially in countries where you legit can go to jail for just filming something, such as Israel. Who knows what the reality is? But there are those who believe that Iran is doing far better than we're being led to believe. Here is from Steven Donziger. You know him as the famed lawyer who defeated Chevron, and then they put him under house arrest in the United States for 3 years for beating Chevron in a court case, which that sounds like good law enforcement, right? That sounds like a justice system. And that was done under like Biden and stuff. So don't pretend that this is just Trump. But anyway, Steven Donziger reporting on this. He says, the U.S. is losing the war in Iran. The corporate media won't tell you that. This could be one of the biggest military and political setbacks for the United States since the Vietnam War. Trump and Hegseth and Rubio will still try to claim victory, but there's no reason to believe the bombast they will be peddling. The leaders of Iran are as united as ever. The country's government has succeeded, at least temporarily, in walloping the U.S. economy and global commerce by closing the Strait of Hormuz. Gas prices in the U.S. and around the world are soaring, as is the price of medicine, food, airline tickets, electricity, and more. Trump's political prospects are sinking alongside the rise in prices. Our allies are furious. U.S. prestige globally stands more wrecked than ever, which you didn't think that was possible, but apparently it is. This is being reported all over, including by the right-wing Wall Street Journal. Here's a headline from the Wall Street Journal. Iran is hitting the radars that underpin U.S. missile systems. And I've covered that a bunch in the past few days. Here are the 5 key points that Donziger wants you to know. Oh, man. Shit be freezing, man. And I don't mean it's cold in here, but okay. Number 1, Iran's leadership is as united as ever. Number 2, Iran's, and they not just united, but Iran tactically put in a system of leadership where you can't just decapitate it. You can't just kill the Ayatollah and then no one knows what to do. And so they have strategically been planning for these assassinations for a long time. Number 2, Iran's military. Okay, guys. Sorry for that. Oh, I just lost 2/3 of all my viewers. That's awesome. Gotta love that shit. I think I've been stopped from talking. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's keep going. Hopefully that won't happen again. I don't know if I don't know what number we were on when I froze or whatever, or went out. So I'll just mention a couple of these. Number 3, Iran effectively jacked up oil prices. I already covered that earlier. Number 4, we're in a world war. Oh man, did I just close that? All right, boy, this is one shitty thing after another. Oh no, there it is. Okay. We're in a world war involving at least 20 countries. No matter what Trump does, there's a chance Iran's response will drive the price of oil to $200 a barrel or more. Number 5, the human rights implications are catastrophic. Millions across Iran have already been displaced. Iran is a country of 90 million people, mind you. Close to 800,000 civilians have been displaced in Lebanon. Thousands have been, if you count Lebanon and Iran together, over 1,000 have been killed, possibly 2,000. While the corporate media largely ignores the human rights dimension of this war, it was illegal for the U.S. and Israel to bomb the country in the first place. It is indisputably a violation of international law for one country to invade another absent evidence of imminent attack, of which there was none, or authorization from the UN Security Council, of which there was none. Stephen Donziger says, I don't know about you, but I still believe in international human rights law as expressed in the UN Charter, ratified by the United States as the supreme law of our land and other legal instruments. We must never abandon human rights law in the face of the Trump, Netanyahu, Putin attempt to render it meaningless. Someone in the chat's asking whether it's millions being displaced. And yeah, that's what I said. Millions have been displaced across Iran. But okay, so that was from Stephen Donziger. And here is from John Mearsheimer, or is it pronounced Mearsheimer? I think it's Mearsheimer, but anyway, he's a well-known American political scientist. I've played some of his clips on here before. One of the few willing to speak the truth about U.S. foreign policy. And anyway, here he is speaking on this invasion of Iran.
Think that we are an incredibly ruthless.
I'm going to try restarting the clip. As many of you know, Instagram could suck a bag of mangy, because half the time I hit restart in the clip and they'll just click to some fucking Kim Kardashian shit.
I think that we are an incredibly ruthless country. The amount of murder and mayhem that we've created around the world is just unbelievable. You know, I was looking at a study the other day put out by Lancet, which is a scientific journal, and they did a study. This was put out.
Not to brag, but I've covered this study many times that he's about to mention. But
You can see it on the internet. It was put out in November of 2025. And what the article did was it looked at sanctions, American sanctions, from 1971 to 2021. 1971 to 2021. And it asked what were the consequences of those sanctions. And we murdered 38 million people. 38 million people. The amount of havoc we have wrought on the Middle East in recent years is just stunning. If you think about the consequences of the Iraq War, what we do in places like Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, you understand we're using this tremendous economic leverage we have to basically starve people, to make them suffer, to inflict great punishment on them so that they'll rise up against their government. You understand that this is what we're doing in Venezuela. This is what we're doing in Iran. We're inflicting massive punishment on these people.
And yeah, it is 38 million. I've covered that number before. 38 million killed almost exclusively by our sanctions, almost exclusively U.S. sanctions. 38 million. Say that a few more times and try and just begin to process that number. Now, I've also pointed out, he may point this out as well, but that the estimates on how many have died in our, or been murdered in our global war on terror is 4.5 to 6 million. So you take the 38 million and you add that 6 million, and you're talking 44 million people murdered by the U.S. government since that the sanctions since 1970, the global war on terror is just since 2001. But tens of millions of people, nearly 500 million people murdered by these fucking psychopaths. And at what point do we stop pretending these are they're just politicians? He's our president. He's our senators. He's doing the best he can. Well, I don't like his stance. Why aren't we calling them fucking psychopaths? It's what they are. They're fucking terrorists. Let's call them what they are. There is no serial murderer around the planet who has ever killed 44 million people. There is not a single serial murderer who's killed even 1 million people. Like, yet, does anyone have a positive take on Jeffrey Dahmer? Does anyone have a positive take on mass shooters? No, but there is amazing the number of people around this world who have a positive take on Trump, or a positive take on Joe Biden, or a positive take on Obama or Bush, or like, they are psychopathic terrorists who have killed tens of millions. And that's not an opinion. That's fucking math. It's math. It's math. Has anyone heard of math? Jesus. And yet here we are just going, they might suffer a few losses in the midterm. Could you imagine if we talked about Dahmer the same way we talk about, well, Dahmer, sure, he ate some people, but, I think we're going to vote. We're not going to vote him out in the midterm, which is 10 months from now. We're going to vote, but we'll vote some of the people around, like the guy that supplied him the barbecue sauce. We're voting that guy out for sure, okay? He'll keep eating people, but I'm hoping he'll lower my taxes. The fuck?
Given all that, I find it very difficult to talk about the United States as a noble country. As I said.
Sorry, I probably should have played the last 6 words before I went off of my rant. But anyway, you get the point. It's good to see some political scientists. And so there's Mearsheimer and there's Jeffrey Sachs, and you've got this tiny handful of political scientists that are willing to actually speak about this in the terms that are real. Very few. And so it becomes like, the question also hits me, why the fuck am I the one saying this? Why is a goddamn comedian? I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to stand on a stage and ask you why when you pee, it goes off to the side and hits the wall or some shit. I wanted to just ask stupid questions on a stage. And here I am, one of, you tell me the number, I don't know, 12 people in America calling these people psychopathic terrorists. Like, why? Even the people who are anti-Trump, there's a bunch of people that are only anti-Trump, right? They think the Democrats have it all solved and they're fine. The Democratic terrorism is fine and the Trump terrorism is bad. Even those people who hate Donald Trump, most of them aren't calling him a psychopath. Most of them are just saying, oh, he's a bad guy. Jesus. Let's use the real terms, huh? If you become a member of my Substack, you'll get the real terms. I had to turn this into an ad at the end. All right, so here's another one of the psychopaths. You notice I can't get on CNN, but they'll have psychopaths day in and day out. They'll just here's a seat waiting, a warm seat waiting right here for you, psychopath. Here is Matthew Miller, the former spokesperson for Biden, talking about how the difference, this is a short clip, 17 seconds, about how the difference between awful, evil countries like Russia and wonderful, noble countries like the United States is that when the U.S. murders children, we look into why that happened afterwards. We do a little investigation after we blow up schoolhouses and murder 160 children. We do a little check-see afterwards. That's the difference. That's the main difference. Evil and good, that's the whole difference. Here's the 17 seconds.
Important that we find out how this actually happens and that there's accountability for the people involved. That's what separates democracies from countries like Iran, from countries like Russia, that when we do make mistakes, we investigate them, we're transparent about it, and we hold the people responsible accountable. But there's nothing that can, important that we find out.
There you go. 17 seconds sums it up. The difference between us as the good country and Russia as the bad country is that when we blow up a bunch of children, we'll talk to some people about why'd we choose to do that? Why'd we blow up that schoolhouse? By the way, their latest reasoning, and it was clear they targeted that schoolhouse. They targeted those children. They chose to blow up that schoolhouse and kill 160 children. The latest explanation is that they were going off of old intel, and that 15 years ago it was a Iranian missile factory or some shit, and then it became a school, and we didn't update it, so we just blew up children. Got that? As if we don't have Google Earth or whatever. Like, we don't have maps. We can't, like, look and see what it is. All right. Oh, yeah. And speaking of bullshit reasons, the latest reason. So there's been multiple people saying that we need to look out for what might happen right now is if Trump and his terrorists decide that they really need to double down on this war in Iran and they're not backing out 1 inch and it's all or nothing. If they do that, we should very much keep our eyes open for a false flag. That would likely be their next step. There are some reports that drones have gone missing from a military base. I don't know how legit those reports are, but generally, if the Pentagon just suddenly releases some drones to someone, it very well might be to set up a false flag situation. But here's the other thing that makes us worry, makes a lot of us worried about a false flag, about them claiming Iran struck the continental United States, like right there, like right here in the United States. I don't know why I'm saying there. I'm in Baltimore, but I'm like way over in the reason I said there is because they're talking about California. But anyway, the FBI is warning that Iran is aspiring to attack California with drones. And many people have pointed out that the drones Iran has don't have nearly enough power, battery power, or fuel, or whatever energy they use to make it to California. There is many people have pointed out that the drones Iran has, and maybe most drones on the planet, I don't know are there drones that can make it around the entire globe? I don't know. But many people have pointed out that they would need to refuel like 3 times to hit California. So there seems to be no possibility that they could actually hit California. And if the FBI is warning about this, then there's probably a reason the FBI is warning about this, which people are pointing out the reasoning could be to lay the groundwork for a false flag, for an explosion in California where they then go, oh, look at what they did. Look at what Iran did. We got to really go after them now. Anyway, to me, it is scary that the FBI, you also keep in mind that the FBI is involved in almost every terrorism, anti-terror effort that they prosecute in the United States. Every terrorism plot they interrupt, every terrorist, quote unquote, every wannabe terrorist that they arrest, over 90% studies have shown the FBI is involved. The FBI has an informant in there. The FBI was supplying them. The FBI informant was trying to recommend them that the others do something more violent. So FBI is involved in 90-some% of all terror plots in the United States. So for them to be saying that we might see a drone attack in California, that is worrisome because they're the ones that usually do the terror attacks. I mean, the FBI is the one doing the terror attacks. They're also the ones saying we might see a terror attack. Kind of horrifying. Okay, I wanted to get to the fact that what happened in this synagogue in Michigan. Thank you, G4DW Dan. Thank you, Dan. Dan is asking if the comedy show in LA has been postponed. No, it has not. It's still on. I'm just not announcing it every day because it's not until May. But LA comedy show, since you brought it up, LA comedy show is May. It's either 13th or 14th. I'll look it up for you. And it's at leecamp.com/schedule, May 13th, Los Angeles. Also, New York City, June 5th, New York City. All those tickets and details are at leecamp.com/schedule, leecamp.com/schedule. So check that out. Also, support my show for the whopping cost of 1 beer a month. If you feel like you're getting 1 beer a month from this show, please, please, please join up at reallycamp.substack.com. You guys are the only reason I keep going. The corporations don't want to get anywhere fucking near me. And it's amazing because you look at all these other guys and you're like, they're almost saying what you're saying. Yeah, that almost when it comes to corporate sponsorships is and ads is a massive gap. What they're not saying and what I'm saying, for some odd reason, stops me from making any money from this except for the few people who join up and support this show. Reallycamp.substack.com or leecamp.net or patreon.com/leecamp. But okay, so this Michigan synagogue was hit, and I don't like to make a big thing out of this type of thing, but I might as well throw in here that my partner has cousins that apparently attend this synagogue, and they're fine, but it's just weird when you have a connection to these things. So this guy drove his car into this synagogue. It seems that one security guard was injured and the suspect was shot and killed. Where it gets, and sadly, this stuff is not that unusual. Israel has worked very hard to make everyone conflate Judaism and Israel, which you should not do. So this is basically Israel creates this. Israel creates this kind of harm, both by committing genocide, but also by making you think that everything Israel does is what all Jews do. It's really sick. It's really fucked up. But there's another reason I bring this up, which is that the FBI has investigated the car, the Department of Homeland Security. The guy's name is Mohammed Ghazali, and he's a 41-year-old U.S. citizen, originally from Lebanon. What is Israel doing right now in Lebanon? They're bombing Lebanon. They're causing forced displacement, hundreds of thousands. They're dropping white phosphorus, which is a war crime. They're murdering people. They're bombing Beirut. They've already killed, I believe, over 1,000 in Lebanon. Ghazali lost several family members in an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon last week. So, and I think it was his wife and at least one of his kids or something. But anyway, so he had family members murdered by Israel in Lebanon. Israel has worked very hard to make everyone think that every synagogue equals Israel. And so this is, follow the dots, connect the dots, folks. Israel created this. Israel is going to create more like this. It's a horror show. And this is what Israel does. And they're creating this kind of damage and harm and horror around the world. And what happened to keeping us safe, right? I thought these actions by the U.S. and Israel, I thought it kept us safe. Oh, it doesn't keep us safe. It actually puts us in harm's way. It actually makes us less safe. Israel, as I mentioned, has been dropping white phosphorus. They dropped it in Gaza, but now they're dropping it in Lebanon, and that is a war crime. Human Rights Watch verifies the videos. The reason that it's a war crime is because white phosphorus is designed to burn like as hot as the sun. And basically what it does is it lights everything on fire. So you end up burning whole areas, whole cities. But on top of that, if you get hit by white phosphorus, it just like burns your flesh off. It's a horrible, horrible thing to happen. And so there's multiple reasons that this has been banned by international law. Of course, the United States and Israel won't sign on. Well, Israel won't sign on to this one. I don't know if the U.S. might have signed on to this one, but yes, international humanitarian law has prohibited putting civilians in unnecessary risk. We know that Israel does not give a shit about civilians or unnecessary risk or any of those things. So this is Israel committing war crimes and killing people in Lebanon. Because I've also brought to you the idea of greater Israel. There's this concept of greater Israel where Israel thinks they're going to take large swaths of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, part of Saudi Arabia, Egypt. And this is an idea that Netanyahu subscribes to, that his Likud party subscribes to. Huckabee, the Christian U.S. ambassador to Israel, said on an interview recently, which I also just covered on Unredacted Tonight, he said, Israel has the right to take it all. because Bible. Hashtag because Bible. True horror show. Okay. I am now going to play, I think I'm going to play the first segment from Unredacted tonight. I'm not going to play the full episode. For that, you can watch it for free. It's not behind a paywall. Watch it for free. YouTube.com/Moment of Clarity. Or actually, probably the easier thing to remember is leecamp.com/unredacted. We'll take you straight there. But I'm going to play the first segment, and I'm not coming back on afterwards, so I will bid you farewell, but I think you're really going to enjoy this episode of Unredacted tonight. And I will see you Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Like I said, I'm more suppressed than ever, more censored than ever. My Facebook, which looked like it was not shadow banned for a couple of months there, has now gone back to being shadow banned. So I've banned my main YouTube channel banned, TikTok banned, Spotify podcast banned, all for bringing you the truth. And being pro-peace and being pro-like love and caring and thinking that humans have a right to live and not be blown up. All my platforms have been banned. So if you want to see my work continue, please join up and become a paying member at reallycamp.substack.com. It's a whopping cost of a beer a month. And that's all it takes to support this kind of work. And I hope you see fit to do that. All right. Let's see here. Here is the first segment from the new episode of Unredacted tonight. Thanks a lot, everybody. Keep fighting out there. Coming up on tonight's show, the Pentagon is more unhinged and unaccountable than ever before, and most people don't know the half of it. But luckily, now their unhinged lunacy is designed to bring back Jesus. I would prefer it was to bring back like Knight Rider or something. But still. Plus, artificial intelligence is already being used for war games to determine what strategies humans should use in times of battle. Only one problem. They keep recommending we all nuke ourselves. And who says AI is trying to get rid of us and enjoy an empty planet for themselves? All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Unredacted tonight. I'm the most censored comedian in America, Lee Camp. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are now requesting another $500 billion increase in the Pentagon's corpulent, corn-fed, oozing over the belt buckle budget. It's so much money that even the people in the Trump administration who specialize in throwing away money aren't sure how to throw away that much money. This would bring the War Machine's annual purse to $1.5 trillion. And yes, trillion should always be written with a capital T and dick emojis for the eyes, because it's a fucking insane number for a defense budget. Oh, and by defense, I mean bloodthirsty death machine. Most Americans right now can't afford a $1,000 emergency without finding themselves balls deep in debt and or poverty. About half of all American children live at or near the poverty line, often going without basic necessities like food, school supplies, or whatever the fresh hell those things are. Is that an effort to get small children to aspire to one day have their eyeballs stretched in a horrifying surgical procedure? Anyway, the younger generation trying to make sense of this backwards, morally vacant system by using video game terminology have begun referring to this as the kill line. The majority of Americans are at the kill line. While the U.S. regime seeks to spend $1.5 trillion per year killing people in other lands. Basically, the motto in this country is now, we can't take care of our own people, but we sure as hell can make it so that other countries also suck. Suck it. We can't fund U.S. schools, but we can blow up schools in your country. We can't fund Americans' health care, but we can blow up hospitals in your country. If we blow up enough shit, other countries might be down to the level of an average American. Trump wants to spend $1.5 trillion every year on killing people in other countries until they allow the full frontal pillaging of all their resources. Currently, even before the $500 billion increase, the U.S. spends more on the military than 144 countries combined. Together. With another $500 billion increase, the Pentagon will be spending more than 192 countries combined. That would be the combined expenditure of every nation on planet Earth except China and Russia. Let me say that again, because you're looking at me like you're not really getting it, and I want you to properly discharge in your pantaloons. If you took every country on Earth except China and Russia and added their military budgets, it would still be less than the Pentagon's $1.5 trillion proposed budget. But what am I complaining about? Our war machine is the envy of the world. Just look at all these records it holds. The Pentagon is the largest money laundering operation the world has ever seen. Tax dollars are taken, rinsed in a big washing machine called National Defense, and then spit out into the pockets of bloodthirsty war profiteering contractors. The Pentagon has the most unaccountable expenditures of any organization in history. More on that in a second. The Pentagon is the largest corruption and fraud system the world has ever seen. The Pentagon is the largest polluter the world has ever seen. And the Pentagon is the largest death machine the world has ever seen. Those are some seriously impressive accolades. I assume that list adorns like a wall at the Pentagon's cafeteria with like quinceanera balloons and shit tied to it. So where does all this Pentagon cash go while American children struggle just to find some non-nutritive cheese balls to survive? Well, no one really knows. The Pentagon has failed 8 straight audits, meaning it has never successfully been audited. A few years back, it became widely known that the Pentagon had a $21 trillion unaccounted for financial adjustment problem. Then in 2019, they had $35 trillion of unaccounted for financial adjustments just in that single year. While they tried to claim it was merely poor bookkeeping, as if their accounting is done by a chimpanzee who's had his eyes gouged out. That's clearly not the case. Some of the missing money is literally pallets containing billions of dollars in cash disappearing. Some of it is ghost schools and ghost troops the Pentagon paid for in places like Afghanistan. Essentially, billions of dollars filled the pockets of people building schools and training soldiers, while in reality, those people were totally not building schools or training soldiers. It was kind of like the guy who says he has a hot girlfriend and then shows you a picture like ripped out of a magazine. That's what they were doing with schools. They were showing the Pentagon, oh, well, yeah, there's a ripped out picture of Oxford University and going, there it is. Yeah, our pride and joy right there on the outskirts of Lashkar-Gah. For some reason, a lot of white students in tweed jackets in the hills of Afghanistan. Clearly, the Pentagon's missing trillions is as much an accounting error as Donald Trump is the winner of 7 consecutive Ironman competitions. In fact, the Pentagon has admitted it can account for 63% of their assets. If that's what they admit to, just imagine what they're keeping secret. Former Defense Secretary Robert Gates once stated that he couldn't even figure out how many people worked in any given Pentagon department, meaning the Pentagon is only moderately aware of who works there. Basically, just check to make sure you're a sociopath, and then they're like, yeah, good enough. Come on, not sure you're employed here, but at least you have our principles. But by all means, let's give this gargantuan death machine another $500 billion a year. Here's the thing. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Come here. Every empire follows a similar path in its waning days. In an act of extreme desperation, the parasitic imperial rulers throw ungodly amounts of money at their morally bankrupt army, no longer able to offer anything of benefit to the world around them. The leaders think they can simply threaten other nations into maintaining the status quo. Those who don't kiss the ring finger and other parts of the body are attacked, besieged, and punished. Those who do fall to their knees to fillet the unhinged kleptocrats are also pillaged and exploited, but in a more friendly and less balmy way. Meanwhile, the actual citizens of the empire, in this case Americans, don't realize a war is being waged against them as well. Their labor and life force is being extracted and pumped into the veins of the vampiric ruling elite. We don't have to go along with this. We can inform ourselves, evolve, create a new world based on cooperation, empathy, and equality. What we're doing is, this is too much fun. Let's stick with this.